Greetings, wanderers. Tonight, we drift back to imperial China, where emperors had the power to reshape nations, but couldn't escape their own miserable lives. From stolen childhoods, family murder attempts, to poisoned deaths, ultimate power came with lethal price. If these stories bring you comfort and peace of mind, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. And before you drift away, do leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is there. I'm always curious how these old stories find you. Very well, it's time we settle in, dim the lights, and discover why unlimited power came with unlimited suffering. Congratulations, you've just been selected for the worst internship program in human history at the age of 2. Your parents are being gently escorted away by palace officials, while you're handed over to a team of eunuchs who will raise you with all the warmth of a government bureaucracy. Your toys replaced with imperial protocol manuals. Your bedtime stories, ancient military strategy texts read by elderly eunuchs who smell like incense and disappointment. You're separated from your parents because the empire has decided that family bonds are threats to imperial authority. Makes sense, really. Can't have you developing inconvenient emotions like love or trust when you're destined to rule millions of people who would cheerfully poison your morning rice if given the chance. The logic is ironclad. Emperors who love their families might hesitate before executing ministers or waging war against neighboring kingdoms. Your new playmates are eunuch children who will grow up to become your handlers. Think of it as the world's most depressing summer camp, except it lasts your entire life and everyone's been castrated for job security. These kids aren't here to be your friends. They're here to study your weaknesses so they can manipulate you more effectively as adults. It's like having your future therapist as your childhood best friend, except the therapy involves controlling every aspect of your existence. The eunuch children become your closest relationships, sharing your lessons and your carefully supervised recreation time. They learn your habits, your fears, your favorite foods, and which stories make you cry. By the time you're adults, these people know you better than you know yourself. They've watched you cry about missing your parents, listened to your fears about becoming emperor, and memorized every weakness you've displayed. When they become your adult handlers, they'll use all of this childhood intimacy against you. By age 13, you've forgotten what your mother looks like. This isn't because you have a bad memory, it's because your visits with family have become formal state occasions. Your own parents have to bow to you when they visit, which destroys any possibility of normal family relationships. Picture trying to have a heart-to-heart with your mom while she's prostrating herself on the floor. How was school today, Your Imperial Majesty? Really builds that maternal bond. The few times your parents do visit, they're required to speak in formal court language about approved topics. Your mother wants to ask if you're eating enough vegetables, but she has to phrase it as, "Does Your Imperial Majesty find the palace cuisine nutritionally adequate?" It's like talking to your family through a translator who only speaks bureaucrat. Meanwhile, your education begins at 4 a.m. every single day. Not 4:30. Not sometime before dawn. 4 a.m. sharp, because the empire's greatest scholars are standing outside your bedroom with scrolls full of knowledge and expressions full of barely contained panic about your academic progress. You're expected to master thousands of Chinese characters, while other kids your age are learning to walk without falling over. Each character you get wrong isn't just a mistake. It's a potential sign that you're unfit to rule. Your tutors report every weakness back to court officials, who judge whether you're worthy of inheriting the dragon throne. No pressure, kid. Just the fate of the entire empire hanging on your ability to remember which squiggly line means prosperity versus rebellion. Your curriculum includes calligraphy, poetry, military strategy, and something called cosmic balance maintenance. You know, typical kindergarten stuff. While normal children are learning their ABCs, you're memorizing complex battle formations and studying how your personal moral character affects weather patterns. Because apparently, if you're having impure thoughts, the Yellow River might flood. The original butterfly effect, except the butterfly is your teenage hormones and the hurricane is actual famine. The pressure is relentless. Your handwriting is analyzed for signs of character weakness. Your poetry is dissected for evidence of inappropriate thoughts. Your military strategy exercises are graded not just for tactical brilliance, but for signs that you might be too aggressive or too peaceful when you inherit actual armies. Every lesson has political implications. Mess up a poetry recitation, clear evidence you lack cultural refinement. Struggle with military tactics, obviously unfit to defend the empire. Show too much interest in economics, suspiciously merchant-like thinking. You're not just learning subjects, you're auditioning for the right to keep breathing. Every person you interact with is a political variable. Your playmates are carefully selected based on their father's positions: the priest's son, the general's nephew, the minister's daughter. No genuine friendships allowed, because friendship implies loyalty to individuals rather than institutions. It's like attending a school where every classmate is a potential political alliance or assassination threat. Group projects take on a whole new meaning when your lab partner might inherit a private army. Even your recreational time is educationally productive. You don't get normal children's games, you get carefully designed activities that reinforce imperial values. Your toys are miniature government offices where you practice being an administrator. Your games involve scenarios about taxation and military deployment. It's like playing house, except the house is a bureaucratic empire and dolls are replaced with scrolls about grain storage policies. Your bedroom is monitored and recorded because privacy is a luxury emperors can't afford. Even your sleep is observed for signs of weakness or conspiracy. Dream talking about wanting to be a farmer instead of an emperor. That's going in your permanent record. Nightmare about palace eunuchs, also recorded because it shows you don't trust your handlers. Sweet dreams are made of surveillance. You spend your childhood learning complex rituals and ceremonial procedures that you'll later perform under life or death pressure. These aren't cute school plays. These are cosmic performances where forgetting your lines could trigger peasant rebellions. You practice bowing to heaven while elderly priests critique your prostration technique. More reverence in the kowtow, Your Highness. The empire's harvest depends on proper head-banging resonance. The ceremonies involve precise timing, exact positioning, and symbolic elements that supposedly maintain the balance between heaven and earth. Get the sequence wrong during actual imperial ceremonies, and natural disasters might be blamed on your ritual incompetence. You're essentially training to be a performer where forgetting your choreography could justify revolution. Playing like a normal child is seen as weakness that could justify your removal from succession. Want to chase butterflies? That shows lack of focus. Interested in games? Clear evidence you're not serious about governance. Laughing too much. Obviously unfit for the solemn responsibility of ruling. You're basically trapped in a childhood where fun is treason and joy is a character flaw. The really twisted part? This is supposed to be the easy part of being emperor. This childhood nightmare is just preparation for the systematic suffering that awaits you as an adult. Every freedom stripped away, every normal experience denied, every genuine relationship forbidden. All of this is just training for a job that will destroy everything human about you. So there you are at age 13, isolated, monitored, overeducated, and emotionally stunted. Ready to inherit unlimited power over people you'll never be allowed to understand. Your childhood has been sacrificed to prepare you for an adulthood that will be even worse. The empire has successfully created the perfect emperor, someone who knows everything about ruling and nothing about living. Welcome to your new life as emperor, where surviving childhood was just the warm-up act for the main event. Time to enjoy your newfound freedom, right? You're a grown man now. Surely you can make your own decisions about when to eat, sleep, and spend your time. Wrong. You're still in the same prison, except now you realize it's a life sentence with more responsibility and the same brutal schedule. You've lived with this insane schedule of waking up at 4 a.m. for years, but your body has never adjusted to it. Every single morning feels like punishment as palace eunuchs burst into your chambers with all the subtlety of a SWAT team, lighting candles and announcing the time in voices that could wake the dead. Your Imperial Majesty, the hour of the tiger has arrived, and your humble servants await your divine presence. Translation: get up, it's still dark outside, and there's a line of bureaucrats who will blame you if the rice harvest fails. Your morning routine is as regimented as a military operation. You're dressed by teams of servants who have memorized the exact sequence for imperial robes. Every piece of clothing has symbolic meaning and must be worn correctly. Or court officials will spend the day analyzing what your wardrobe choices say about your fitness to rule. Forget to wear the proper shade of yellow. Obviously, you don't understand imperial dignity. Choose the wrong dragon pattern, clear evidence you're losing touch with cosmic authority. Your breakfast happens at exactly 6 a.m. after reviewing hundreds of official name cards from people requesting audiences. This isn't leisurely dining. It's an administrative meal where you eat while scrolling through bureaucratic requests. The rice gets cold while you're reading about grain storage disputes in provinces you've never visited. Your tea gets bitter while you're deciding whether to grant an audience to the minister, complaining about military budget allocations. The food itself is a security nightmare disguised as a meal. Multiple servants taste everything before it reaches your mouth, not because they're concerned about flavor, but because they're worried about poison. Your breakfast routine involves watching other people eat your food first, then consuming whatever's left while it's lukewarm and covered in other people's saliva. Royal dining at its finest. You spend every morning reading memorials from across the empire while your food gets cold. These aren't friendly letters. They're detailed reports about problems you're expected to solve from a palace thousands of miles away. Drought in the south? Your fault for not maintaining proper cosmic balance. Bandit attacks in the north? Obviously, you're not projecting enough imperial authority. Tax collection problems in the west. Clearly, you've appointed incompetent officials, which reflects poorly on your judgment. Each memorial requires a response, and your responses become imperial policy that affects millions of people. No pressure, but your morning decisions determine whether provinces get military reinforcements or tax relief. Write the wrong thing before you're fully awake, and you might accidentally declare war on an ally or bankrupt a region. It's like answering work emails, except your drowsy mistakes can reshape the empire. Your bathroom breaks are supervised and timed because palace security is worried that assassins might be hiding in places they can't see. You know, like in the toilets. Even your most private bodily functions are monitored by eunuchs who stand outside the door, timing how long you take and listening for sounds of distress. It's the world's most invasive customer service program. The supervision extends to ridiculous levels. Your bathroom schedule is recorded and analyzed for signs of illness, stress, or concerning regularity patterns. Spend too long in there? Obviously, you're either sick or plotting something. Go too frequently. Clear evidence of anxiety that might affect your decision-making. Even your digestive system is subject to imperial oversight. Your hobbies must be governmentally productive calligraphy and poetry only, no fun allowed. Want to paint landscapes? Too frivolous for an emperor. Interested in music? Only if it's classical court music that reinforces imperial values. Curious about astronomy? Acceptable, but only the parts that help you understand divine omens and cosmic balance. Your leisure time is carefully curated to ensure it serves imperial purposes. Even your approved hobbies are monitored for political implications. Your calligraphy is analyzed for signs of mental instability or hidden messages. Your poetry is dissected by court scholars who interpret your metaphors as commentary on current policy. Write a poem about autumn leaves. Obviously, you're expressing dissatisfaction with the changing political climate. Compose something about spring flowers. Clearly, you're optimistic about upcoming military campaigns. Your meals are scheduled institutional events, not pleasurable experiences. Lunch at noon, dinner at 6, with specific dishes chosen by palace nutritionists who balance your health needs against symbolic requirements. You can't just eat what you want. Your menu must reflect seasonal appropriateness, cosmic harmony, and imperial dignity. Craving something simple? Too bad, you're having an 8-course meal that represents the 8 directions of the compass. Your sleep schedule is managed by eunuchs who decide when you're tired enough. They monitor your energy levels throughout the day and determine your optimal bedtime based on tomorrow's schedule. Feeling wakeful? Irrelevant. You need to be rested for the morning audience. Want to stay up reading? Not unless it's official documents that serve imperial purposes. Your circadian rhythm is government property. Your relaxation periods are pre-approved activities that serve imperial purposes. Want to take a walk? Only in designated garden areas accompanied by guards during scheduled times. Interested in conversation? Only with approved officials about approved topics. Feel like doing nothing? That's interpreted as laziness inappropriate for someone responsible for governing millions of people. You can't take a 10-minute walk alone without triggering palace-wide alerts. Your disappearance for even brief periods sends the entire security apparatus into code red mode. Guards fan out across the palace complex. Eunuchs check every room and officials panic about potential assassination attempts or escape plans. Your need for solitude is treated as a security breach. Your entertainment is limited to court performances that reinforce your divine status. The music, dance, and theater you're allowed to watch are carefully chosen to remind you of your cosmic importance and imperial responsibilities. Want to watch something funny? Only if it's satirical comedy that mocks your enemies. Interested in drama? Only historical plays that showcase proper imperial behavior. Your entertainment is educational propaganda disguised as leisure. Every moment of spontaneity is suffocated by protocol and supervision. Feel like changing your schedule? Not without consulting advisors who evaluate the political implications. Want to visit a different part of the palace? Only after security sweeps and official notifications. Interested in trying a new activity? First, it needs approval from multiple departments who assess whether it's appropriate for imperial dignity. The truly maddening part is that this rigid schedule is supposedly designed to serve you. Every restriction, every supervised moment, every loss of personal freedom is justified as necessary for your protection and the empire's stability. You're living in a gilded cage built by people who claim to be protecting you from the very freedom that would make life worth living. Your daily existence becomes a series of scheduled obligations, where every minute is accounted for and every activity serves imperial purposes. You wake up before dawn to begin a day that will end at a designated time, filled with assigned activities, surrounded by appointed people, all designed to maintain a system that treats you like a divine puppet rather than a human being. So there you are, theoretically the most powerful person in the world. Your words can reshape empires and topple kingdoms, but you can't even choose your own bathroom schedule without triggering a security meeting. Your day is planned by committees. Your meals are chosen by nutritionists. Your entertainment is curated by propagandists. And your sleep is managed by handlers who treat your basic human needs as administrative problems to be solved. Welcome to unlimited power. Now give up any hope of controlling your own existence. Think your daily schedule is bad? Wait until you discover that your entire reign is one long audition for divine approval, performed in front of audiences who are actively hoping you'll fail so they can justify overthrowing you. You're constantly auditioning for divine approval in front of audiences looking for failure. Every public appearance is a test where people analyze your every gesture, word, and facial expression for signs that heaven has withdrawn its support from your dynasty. It's like being a performer where the audience wants you to bomb so they can riot with cosmic justification. The pressure is relentless because you're not just governing people. You're supposedly maintaining the balance between heaven and earth through your personal moral character. No pressure, but if you're having a bad day, people might interpret your mood as evidence that you've lost divine favor. Feeling grumpy during a public ceremony? Obviously, the gods are displeased with your leadership. Smile too much. Clearly, you're not taking your cosmic responsibilities seriously enough. Natural disasters like earthquakes and floods are blamed on your personal moral character. When the Yellow River floods, it's not because of seasonal rainfall patterns or inadequate flood control infrastructure. It's because you've been morally deficient in some way that has angered heaven. Drought destroys crops. Obviously, you haven't been performing your rituals with sufficient reverence. Earthquake levels a city. Clear evidence that your personal conduct has disrupted cosmic harmony. The blame game extends to every aspect of natural phenomena. Unusual weather patterns, failed harvests, livestock diseases, and even eclipses are interpreted as divine commentary on your fitness to rule. You're personally responsible for meteorology, geology, and agriculture across an empire of millions of people. Modern politicians complain about being blamed for economic problems, but you're getting blamed for acts of God that happened before weather forecasting was invented. You perform barefoot winter ceremonies where your physical performance determines national fortune. The Temple of Heaven rituals require you to approach the altar without shoes, in freezing weather, while maintaining perfect ceremonial posture and executing complex sequences of movements. One stumble could be interpreted as proof that heaven disapproves of your reign. Nothing says divine mandate like frostbitten toes. The winter solstice ceremony is brutal enough without the added challenge of spiritual purification. You're required to fast for 3 days beforehand, which means you're weak, dizzy, and malnourished right when you need to execute flawless prostrations and kowtows on cold stone. It's like performing Swan Lake while starving in sub-zero temperatures, with your political survival hanging on your dancing skills. But performing badly or even collapsing isn't an option when hundreds of officials are watching for signs of cosmic unworthiness. Your own officials can command you to kowtow in public, humiliating the most powerful person alive. During certain ceremonies, court bureaucrats have the authority to order you to perform the 3 prostrations and 9 kowtows, forcing you to bang your head against the floor while crowds watch. You're supposedly divine, but your own employees can make you prostrate yourself in front of audiences who are evaluating your performance for signs of cosmic unworthiness. The kowtow ritual is designed to be humiliating. You prostrate yourself completely flat, then rise to your knees and bang your head against the floor 3 times, creating a resonant sound that proves your reverence. The floor tiles in ceremonial areas had inverted clay jars underneath, specifically to amplify the head-banging noise. Louder kowtows were considered evidence of greater respect for heaven, so you're literally being judged on how hard you can smash your skull against the ground. Your clothing choices have magical properties that supposedly affect people's daily lives. The dragon robe isn't just ceremonial wear, it's believed to bring good luck to the empire. People think your outfit choices can influence their harvests, their health, and their prosperity. Choose the wrong color jade for a ceremony, you might have cursed the entire agricultural season. Wear an inappropriate pattern. Obviously, you don't understand the cosmic forces your wardrobe is supposed to channel. The symbolic requirements for imperial clothing are impossibly complex. Different ceremonies require specific colors, patterns, and accessories that correspond to seasonal changes, astronomical events, and cosmic principles. Your wardrobe becomes a form of magical performance art where every choice carries metaphysical implications. It's like getting dressed for work, except your tie selection might determine whether the monsoons arrive on time. Every public stumble could justify a peasant rebellion against your failed divine mandate. The mandate of heaven doctrine explicitly states that natural disasters and social unrest are signs that heaven has withdrawn its support from the current dynasty. This means that every time you trip during a ceremony, cough during a speech, or show any sign of human weakness, you're providing ammunition for people who want to overthrow you with divine approval. The rebellion justification system is elegantly designed to make your life miserable. If everything goes well, you're maintaining cosmic harmony through your virtue. If anything goes wrong, it's proof that you've lost divine favor and should be replaced. You can't win because success is expected and failure is treasonous. It's like being a sports coach where winning games is your job, but losing games means your head goes with it. You face north during ceremonies, reversing your normal orientation and increasing mistake chances. Most imperial activities involve facing south, the direction of imperial authority and yang energy. But during heaven worship ceremonies, you must face north toward the cosmic source of your power. This reversal is symbolically important, but practically disorienting, making you more likely to stumble or lose your bearings during crucial performances. The directional reversal isn't just symbolic, it's physically challenging. You've spent years training your muscle memory for south-facing ceremonies, and suddenly you need to execute the same movements while facing the opposite direction. It's like learning to write with your non-dominant hand during the most important exam of your life, except failing the exam justifies revolution. People aren't just watching your ceremonies, they're waiting for you to fail so they can kill you with cosmic approval. The audience at imperial ceremonies includes officials, foreign dignitaries, and representatives from across the empire, who are evaluating your performance for signs of divine disfavor. They're not there to support you, they're there to witness whether heaven still approves of your rule. The crowd psychology is terrifying. These people want to see a successful ceremony because it means stability and prosperity, but they're also secretly hoping for dramatic failure because it would justify political change. You're performing for an audience that has conflicted motivations, creating an atmosphere where every gesture is scrutinized for evidence of cosmic approval or disapproval. Your succession decisions become theatrical productions with ceremonial boxes and cosmic drama. Even choosing your heir requires elaborate public ceremonies where you write secret edicts, seal them in ceremonial boxes, and hang them behind your throne for dramatic revelation after your death. Your private family decisions must be staged as cosmic theater because people need to believe that heaven approves of your succession choices. The succession ceremony turns your death into a performance. Your sealed edict naming your heir isn't just a legal document. It's a dramatic prop in the cosmic theater of imperial legitimacy. The box containing your choice sits behind your throne during audiences, reminding everyone that your dynasty's future depends on divine approval of your selection. It's like keeping your will in a locked box on your desk at work, except the contents determine whether your employees revolt after you die. The more absolute your claimed power, the more perfect your public performance must be. Claiming to rule by divine mandate means you can't afford to look human during public appearances. Every stumble, every moment of weakness, every sign that you're just a mortal person rather than a cosmic force becomes potential evidence that you've lost heaven's approval. The higher you claim to stand above ordinary humanity, the farther you have to fall when you inevitably display human limitations. Your authority paradox is perfectly designed to destroy you. You need absolute power to maintain order across a vast empire. But claiming absolute power means you must demonstrate absolute perfection in all your public performances. The very authority that makes you powerful also makes you vulnerable to cosmic criticism every time you fail to live up to impossible divine standards. So there you are, supposedly the Son of Heaven, spending your entire reign auditioning for divine approval in front of audiences who are grading your every performance for signs of cosmic failure. You're responsible for weather patterns you can't control, natural disasters you can't prevent, and cosmic harmony you can't actually maintain. So your only option is to fake it until you make it. Every public appearance is a test where human weakness proves divine unworthiness. And every failure provides justification for the people who want to replace you with someone who might, possibly, be better at pretending to be divinely approved. Remember those eunuch children who were your only playmates growing up. Plot twist, they weren't really your friends. They were your future handlers, and now that you're emperor, it's time for them to cash in on decades of studying your every weakness, fear, and vulnerability. The eunuchs who raised you as playmates now control every aspect of your adult life. These people shared your meals, played your games, and listened to your childhood fears about becoming emperor. They know which foods you hate, what nightmares wake you up, and exactly how to manipulate your emotions because they've been taking notes since you were 5 years old. It's like having your elementary school classmates grow up to become your therapists, except their goal isn't your recovery, it's your obedience. Your former friends know all your weaknesses and use childhood intimacy to manipulate you as an adult. They remember every embarrassing incident, every moment of doubt, every time you cried about missing your parents. That innocent conversation about being scared of palace ceremonies, they're using it now to manage your schedule around your anxieties. That childhood confession about which officials you found intimidating, they're controlling your access to those exact people. The manipulation is subtle but total. They know your favorite comfort foods and provide them when they want you compliant. They understand your sleep patterns and can predict when you'll be most vulnerable to suggestion. They've memorized your emotional triggers and use them to steer your decisions in directions that serve their interests. You think you're making independent choices, but you're actually responding to psychological conditioning that began in childhood. 70,000 castrated men monitor your bathroom breaks with multiple witnesses. Who needs CCTV when you have 70,000 nosy eunuchs watching your every move? But this isn't just about security. It's about maintaining complete awareness of your physical and mental state at all times. Your bathroom schedule is tracked, Your time spent in private is measured, and any deviation from normal patterns is analyzed for signs of illness, stress, or potential plotting. Even your bodily functions are subject to bureaucratic oversight. The bathroom surveillance extends to analyzing what you're doing in there. Are you taking longer than usual? Possible constipation, which could affect your mood during important meetings. Are you going more frequently? Potential anxiety about upcoming ceremonies. Are you spending time reading? They need to know what documents you're reviewing during your most private moments. Your digestive system has become a window into your psychological state. Your eunuch handlers decide which officials can meet you based on their bribery payments. Want to petition the emperor about military funding? First, you need to negotiate with his eunuchs about access fees. Need to discuss tax policy. The eunuchs who control his schedule will determine whether your request is worth their time based on how much you're willing to pay for the privilege of imperial attention. The bribery system turns your servants into gatekeepers who profit from your isolation. Every official conversation, every policy discussion, every administrative decision must be approved by people who are getting rich from controlling access to you. You're making empire-shaping decisions based on which advisors can afford to pay your handlers for audience time. It's like having a personal assistant who charges people to talk to you, except the conversations determine national policy. Every piece of information about your empire is filtered through people with personal agendas. Your daily intelligence briefings are compiled by eunuchs who decide which news deserves your attention based on their own interests and loyalties. Military reports, economic updates, and diplomatic communications all pass through handlers who have the power to shape your understanding of reality by controlling what information reaches you. The information filtering creates a distorted view of your own empire. You might never hear about problems that your eunuchs consider unimportant or inconvenient. You might receive exaggerated reports about issues that serve their political purposes. You're governing based on a curated version of reality designed to keep you manageable and your handlers profitable. It's like getting your news from social media algorithms, except the algorithms are actual people with personal agendas. Your servants get rich selling access to you while you remain isolated from reality. The people who dress you, feed you, and manage your schedule are accumulating wealth by monetizing your imperial authority. They own houses outside the palace, employ their own servants, and live comfortable lives funded by bribes from people who need imperial access. You're the source of their wealth, but you're also their prisoner. The economic ecosystem around your isolation is staggering. Low-level eunuchs demand portions of food entering the palace. Mid-level eunuchs control scheduling and charge for audience priority. High-level eunuchs own entire networks of influence and can make or break careers based on their relationship with you. Everyone is getting rich from your imperial status except you, who can't even choose your own breakfast without committee approval. Officials must bribe your eunuchs for audiences, making your servants more powerful than ministers. Government ministers with decades of experience and vast administrative responsibilities have to negotiate with palace servants for the privilege of discussing state business with you. Your handlers have more practical influence over imperial policy than the people officially appointed to run the empire. The power inversion is complete. Your eunuchs can cancel important meetings by declaring days inauspicious. They can delay urgent military decisions by claiming you're too busy with ceremonial duties. They can prevent economic advisors from reaching you during financial crises because those advisors haven't paid sufficient access fees. Your servants are the real deep state. Your childhood caregivers often become your murderers, poisoning you with trusted access. The people who know your food preferences, your daily routines, and your personal habits are perfectly positioned to kill you when political circumstances change. They understand your security procedures because they helped design them. They know your medical conditions because they've monitored your health for decades. They have unlimited access to your private spaces because you trust them completely. The murder potential is terrifying because it comes from intimate knowledge. Your eunuchs know which foods you eat without having them tested. They understand your sleep patterns and can predict when you'll be most vulnerable. They have access to your private chambers and can approach you without triggering security alerts. The people best positioned to protect you are also the people most capable of killing you. You make empire-changing decisions based on information curated by people who profit from lying to you. Your understanding of military threats, economic conditions, and political situations comes from handlers who have financial incentives to present information in ways that serve their own interests. You might declare war based on exaggerated intelligence reports, or ignore genuine threats because your eunuchs find them inconvenient. The decision-making process becomes a game of telephone where every relay point is corrupted by personal interests. Military commanders send reports to palace eunuchs who modify them before presenting them to you. You make decisions based on these modified reports, then send orders back through the same corrupted chain. The empire runs on information that has been filtered, edited, and manipulated by people whose primary loyalty is to their own wealth and power. Your most trusted relationships are surveillance operations disguised as friendship. The eunuchs who seem most loyal and caring are actually the most dangerous because they're using emotional manipulation to maintain control over you. They remember your birthday, ask about your health, and provide emotional support during difficult times. But every gesture of care is calculated to maintain their access and influence. They're not your friends, they're your captors who have learned that emotional manipulation is more effective than physical coercion. You can't escape this system because the same people watching you control the exit routes. Your eunuchs manage palace security, control communication with the outside world, and monitor all your interactions with potential allies. Any attempt to circumvent their authority would require their cooperation, which they have no incentive to provide. You're trapped in a system designed and operated by your captors. The inescapability is perfect. Even if you realized the extent of your manipulation, you couldn't act on that knowledge without using the same people who are manipulating you. Your eunuchs control the guards, the communications, the transportation, and the information networks. They've created a closed system where resistance is impossible because resistance would require resources that only they can provide. So there you are, surrounded by 70,000 people whose job is watching you, controlling you, and profiting from your isolation. The childhood friends who once played games with you now play much more sophisticated games where you're both the prize and the pawn. They've turned your existence into a business model where they milk your imperial presence like a cash cow. Just when you thought dealing with palace politics was exhausting, here's a fun reminder that your empire is surrounded by nomadic tribes who have been perfecting the art of conquest for centuries and would love nothing more than to add your territory to their collection. And you're personally responsible for defending against these savages. These aren't amateur raiders stumbling around the countryside. These are professional military cultures whose entire way of life revolves around mobility, warfare, and taking things that belong to other people. Your agricultural empire, with its fixed cities and settled populations, is basically a buffet table for people who specialize in rapid conquest. The nomads have every advantage in this matchup. They're mobile, you're stationary. They choose when and where to attack. You have to defend everything everywhere. They can retreat into vast steppes where your armies can't follow, while you have to protect specific cities that can't be moved. It's like playing chess against someone who gets to move twice for every one of your moves. Military defeats are interpreted as divine displeasure with your moral character. When your armies fail to stop nomadic invasions, it's not because your enemies have superior mobility, better horses, or more effective tactics. It's because you've lost the mandate of heaven through personal moral failings. Your military incompetence becomes evidence of cosmic unworthiness, giving your own people justification to overthrow you. The blame game is perfectly designed to destroy your confidence. Win a battle. You're temporarily maintaining divine favor. Lose a battle. Obviously, you're morally corrupt and unfit to rule. Draw a battle. Clearly, you're indecisive and lack the cosmic authority necessary for decisive victory. There's no outcome that doesn't somehow reflect on your spiritual fitness as emperor. Some emperors are expected to personally lead armies into battle despite having limited military training. Your childhood education focused on poetry, calligraphy, and cosmic balance maintenance, not battlefield tactics or cavalry charges. Yet, when barbarians threaten the border, you're expected to don armor and lead charges like you're some sort of warrior-philosopher hybrid who can quote Confucius while swinging a sword. The personal military leadership requirement is a recipe for disaster. You've spent your entire life in palaces being protected by other people, and suddenly you're supposed to inspire professional soldiers in life-or-death combat situations. Your military experience consists of reading about battles in books and playing strategic games with court advisors. Now you're expected to make split-second decisions that determine whether cities survive or get burned to the ground. The Great Wall failures are blamed on your spiritual unworthiness, not engineering problems. When sections of the wall get breached, it's not because maintaining thousands of miles of fortifications is logistically impossible, or because determined enemies can eventually find ways around any barrier. It's because your personal moral character isn't strong enough to properly channel defensive energy through ancient stonework. The wall becomes a cosmic report card for your reign. Successful defenses prove you're maintaining proper harmony with heaven. Breaches indicate you've lost divine favor and need to improve your spiritual worthiness. You're essentially being graded on your ability to maintain magical protection through a construction project that was already falling apart before you were born. You must balance massive military spending against internal development while peasants starve. Every coin spent on border defense is a coin not spent on flood control, road maintenance, or agricultural support. But if you underfund the military and invasions succeed, you're blamed for allowing barbarians to destroy the empire. If you overfund the military and peasants starve, you're blamed for neglecting domestic welfare. Either choice provides ammunition for people who want to overthrow you. The resource allocation dilemma is unsolvable. Peaceful periods make military spending seem wasteful, but military weakness invites invasion. Economic prosperity makes the empire a more attractive target, but economic problems make defense more difficult. You're trying to balance contradictory requirements with limited resources, while enemies time their attacks to exploit whatever choice you make. Foreign invasions can end your dynasty overnight, making every border report a potential death sentence. A successful nomadic campaign doesn't just threaten territory, it threatens the entire legitimacy of your rule. If barbarians can conquer imperial cities, obviously you've lost divine approval and should be replaced by someone who can properly maintain cosmic protection. every messenger arriving from the frontier might be carrying news of your dynasty's doom. The overnight collapse potential creates permanent anxiety. You can spend decades building up defenses, maintaining armies, and fortifying borders, but one successful enemy campaign can erase all that work and justify your overthrow. It's like being a CEO where one wrong business move can trigger a hostile takeover, and you lose both your job and your head altogether. You live with constant knowledge that barbarian conquest could erase your family's legacy forever. The Mongols didn't just conquer Chinese territory, they systematically destroyed the institutions, culture, and population that supported previous dynasties. Your family's centuries of rule could be erased in a few years of effective nomadic warfare. You're not just protecting territory, you're protecting the entire concept of your dynasty's historical significance. The legacy destruction goes beyond politics. Successful invasions can erase architectural achievements, cultural developments, and literary traditions that took generations to build. Your family's entire contribution to Chinese civilization could be reduced to a footnote about a failed dynasty that couldn't maintain proper defenses. Everything your ancestors built becomes kindling for barbarian campfires. Your personal reputation is tied to border security you can't actually control. Military success depends on factors like enemy unity, weather patterns, harvest cycles, and the quality of commanders you inherited from previous administrations. But your reputation as emperor depends on outcomes that are largely beyond your personal influence. You're being judged on your ability to control variables that no individual person can actually control. The reputation trap extends to historical judgment. Future historians will evaluate your reign based on whether you successfully defended against invasions, not on whether you had adequate resources, competent generals, or favorable strategic circumstances. Your personal legacy becomes hostage to military outcomes that depend on factors you can't influence and enemies whose decisions you can't predict. Mongol trauma haunts every decision about wall building and military deployment. The collective memory of previous invasions influences every strategic choice, creating a paranoid mindset where every military decision is evaluated against the nightmare scenario of total conquest. You're not just defending against current threats, you're defending against historical trauma that shapes how everyone thinks about barbarian warfare. The trauma response creates overcorrection that weakens other aspects of governance. Excessive focus on border security drains resources from domestic development, creating internal problems that can be just as dangerous as external threats. You become so focused on preventing the last invasion that you create vulnerabilities to new types of threats that exploit your defensive obsessions. So there you are, responsible for defending a vast empire against professional military cultures who specialize in conquering exactly the type of civilization you're trying to protect. Every border report brings potential disaster. Every military decision affects cosmic legitimacy. And every strategic choice must balance impossible trade-offs between defense and development. You're playing a game where the rules favor your enemies. The costs of failure include dynastic extinction, and success depends on variables you can't control. The barbarians aren't just at the gates, they're in your head, shaping every decision through the permanent threat of conquest that could erase everything you're trying to preserve. Here's where things get really twisted. You might think unlimited wealth, power, and pleasure would compensate for all the surveillance and pressure. You'd be wrong. Turns out, having everything is just another form of prison, except this one comes with better catering. You have up to 9,000 concubines, turning intimacy into a bureaucratic nightmare. This isn't some fantasy harem where beautiful women compete for your affection. This is an administrative system where thousands of women are processed through imperial sexual services like inventory in a warehouse. Romance becomes paperwork with a dress code. The scale alone makes genuine intimacy impossible. You can't remember 9,000 names, let alone birthdays, or whether someone prefers morning or evening appointments. Each woman becomes just another line item in a sexual spreadsheet managed by eunuchs who track your bedroom productivity like they're running a very weird business. Some concubines literally had to be carried naked to your bedchamber because foot binding made walking impossible. Nothing says romantic evening like having your date delivered by porters. Every sexual encounter is monitored, recorded, and analyzed for political implications. Palace eunuchs track which concubines you visit, how often, and for how long like you are their lab rat. Your bedroom activities are scrutinized for signs of favoritism that might affect succession politics. Even your most intimate moments get the full government oversight treatment. The monitoring creates the world's most awkward performance reviews. Officials debate your romantic preferences because they affect which concubines gain political influence. Your dating choices become matters of state security. It's like having your relationship status analyzed by a congressional committee, except the committee can execute people. Your concubines compete through poisoning plots and manipulation rather than genuine affection. With thousands of women competing for imperial favor, normal flirting becomes irrelevant. Instead, you're dating in an environment where women form criminal alliances to eliminate romantic rivals. Your love life becomes a reality TV show where the losers actually die, and the winners get to poison next season's contestants. Some emperors discovered their favorite concubines had murdered their children and rival women out of jealousy. Palace romance becomes a blood sport where pillow talk might include confessions to homicide. You're trying to have meaningful relationships with people who consider assassination a valid dating strategy. Unlimited wealth means your casual tips equal entire national budgets. When you can give someone wealth equivalent to the empire's entire tax revenue as a birthday present, money becomes completely meaningless. Your pocket change can fund private armies or destabilize the economy through inflationary spending. Tipping becomes an act of fiscal policy that could accidentally trigger economic collapse. Your officials accumulate billions in modern currency just from your casual generosity. One favored official accumulated wealth equivalent to 270 billion modern dollars just from imperial gift-giving. This wasn't corruption, it was Tuesday. When you can afford to give away entire national treasuries as personal presents, your relationship with money becomes completely divorced from reality. Palace servants become accidentally wealthy just from proximity to your spending habits. Your staff own houses, employ their own servants, and live comfortable lives funded by imperial largesse. Even your servants' servants had hidden wealth equivalent to millions of modern dollars, just from working near someone who tips with kingdoms. It's like being so rich that your janitor becomes a millionaire just from the loose change you drop. The gift-giving creates a parallel economy where imperial favor becomes currency. People don't work for money, they work for access to your generosity. Career advancement depends on your personal attention rather than competence or merit. The entire imperial system becomes a wealth redistribution mechanism where your emotional whims determine economic outcomes. Your mood swings have macroeconomic implications. You can commission entire palace complexes just to display your impulse purchases. Some emperors built European-style palaces specifically to house their collections of Western art and artifacts. These weren't living spaces, they were elaborate storage units for imperial shopping addiction. You're so wealthy that you need architectural projects to organize your hoarding, complete with staff to dust collections you'll never actually look at. The collecting obsession reveals how meaningless acquisition becomes when you have unlimited resources. You're not buying things because you need them. You're buying things because you can, then building palaces to store purchases you'll never use. Your shopping habits require their own infrastructure development. Alcohol and substance abuse become your default coping mechanisms for existential emptiness. When you can have anything you want, pleasure becomes routine and loses its ability to provide satisfaction. Drinking becomes your way to escape the prison of unlimited options. You're essentially self-medicating against the depression that comes from having everything and finding it insufficient. Some emperors became alcoholic and psychotic, turning state dinners into horror shows. One emperor tossed a decapitated head onto a banquet platter while fondling the corpse's leg, proving that unlimited power plus substance abuse creates monsters rather than gods. Court dining etiquette becomes significantly more challenging when the host might dismember guests between courses. You sell government offices for money because even political power becomes a commodity you can auction off. Some emperors treated government appointments like merchandise, creating a system where administrative positions are filled based on wealth rather than competence. Your empire becomes staffed by people who can afford to buy their jobs rather than people who can actually do them. The office selling creates a government run by the highest bidders rather than the most qualified candidates. Important positions like tax collection and military command go to whoever has the best credit rating. It's like filling your cabinet through eBay auctions, except the consequences include famine and invasion. Your empire's administrative effectiveness deteriorates because positions are awarded to highest bidders rather than people who qualify. Your unlimited access to entertainment replaces any interest in actually governing. When you can have any experience whenever you want it, ruling becomes just another form of entertainment that's often less interesting than your other options. Why deal with boring tax policy when you can enjoy elaborate court performances or exotic imported luxuries? Some emperors preferred indulgence to state affairs, which led to massive peasant rebellions and dynasty collapse. Your retreat from responsibility creates the very crises that make ruling even more unbearable. It's a vicious cycle where governing becomes unpleasant, so you avoid it, which makes it worse, so you avoid it even more. When you can have anything, pleasure becomes meaningless and depression is inevitable. Each new luxury, each new experience, each new acquisition provides temporary satisfaction that quickly fades. You're trapped on a hedonic treadmill where nothing can provide lasting happiness because you've already experienced everything worth experiencing. It's like being stuck in a video game where you've unlocked all the achievements and there's nothing left to do. The meaninglessness is existential and unavoidable. You have all the wealth, power, and pleasure that humans are supposed to want, but none of it creates satisfaction or purpose. You're living proof that unlimited resources don't solve the fundamental human problem of finding meaning in existence. Instead, they amplify the emptiness by removing the constraints that usually give life structure. Your conspicuous consumption during times of hardship creates resentment that justifies revolution. People who are starving don't appreciate emperors who are spending national treasuries on personal entertainment. Your excess becomes the propaganda that enemies use to justify overthrowing you. Your lifestyle becomes a weapon against yourself. The rebellion dynamic creates a final irony where your unlimited pleasure becomes the source of unlimited danger. The very lifestyle that's supposed to compensate for the burdens of rule becomes the reason people want to kill you. Your retreat into hedonistic excess creates the political vulnerabilities that make your position even more precarious. So there you are, drowning in an ocean of unlimited options, while discovering that having everything means nothing has value. Your wealth is meaningless because scarcity creates desire. Your power is hollow because it can't fill that void in your soul. Your pleasure is empty and short-lived because it lacks the contrast that makes enjoyment possible. You've achieved every material goal humans are supposed to want, and discovered that playing with cheat codes makes the game of life boring and meaningless. And what's worse, you're stuck playing it forever. Here's where imperial suffering gets particularly cruel. Almost every Han Dynasty emperor had documented relationships with men, but having male lovers as emperor means watching the people you actually care about get destroyed by the political system you're supposed to control. It's like being the world's most powerful person while being completely powerless to protect what matters most to you. You can have male lovers, but must navigate constant political consequences that threaten their safety. Court historians officially document your male relationships in imperial records, because transparency serves the bureaucracy's need to monitor your emotional influences. So it's not exactly secret, but it's not socially celebrated either. You're trapped in a system where your romantic life is simultaneously acknowledged and weaponized against the people you love. The political recognition creates a bizarre situation where your relationships are official, but not safe. Your male favorites get recognized titles and administrative positions, but they also become targets for every political faction that wants to hurt you. Love becomes a liability that puts your partners in constant danger from people who see them as convenient ways to attack your authority. It's like having your relationship status posted on a government website where your enemies can use it as a target list. Your tender moments with male partners become court legends precisely because genuine affection is rare in imperial settings. The famous cut sleeve story shows how desperate you are for real intimacy. When one emperor's male lover fell asleep on his sleeve, the emperor cut off his own robe rather than wake his beloved. This tiny gesture of consideration became legendary because authentic care is so unusual in a world where every relationship serves political purposes. The cut sleeve story reveals how isolated you are from normal human connection. A simple act of not wanting to disturb someone's sleep becomes a romantic legend, because it's such a contrast to the calculated relationships that dominate palace life. Your most tender moments become famous because tenderness itself is remarkable in your environment. Other courtiers even started cutting their own sleeves as tribute, creating the euphemism passion of the cut sleeve for male love throughout Chinese culture. You're forced to marry women and produce heirs while emotionally connected to men. The empire requires dynastic continuation, so regardless of your actual sexual preferences, you must perform heterosexual duties for political stability. You can love men, but you have to pretend to love women for the cameras. It's like being stuck in a very high-stakes closet where coming out could destabilize the government. The forced marriages create impossible emotional situations. You're expected to show affection to wives you don't desire while hiding your feelings for men you actually love. Every public appearance with your empress is a performance designed to demonstrate proper imperial sexuality, while your real relationships happen in private spaces that are constantly monitored. You're essentially method acting a heterosexual marriage, while your actual romantic life is classified state information. Some emperors were described as by nature not caring for women, but still had to produce heirs and maintain the appearance of heterosexual imperial authority. Your male lovers gain political power through sexual relationships, but live knowing that imperial favor is temporary and dangerous. Being the emperor's favorite means sudden wealth, influence, and access to imperial authority. But it also means you're one political crisis away from being scapegoated. Your partners are essentially gambling their lives on your ability to protect them from a system designed to eliminate anyone who gains too much influence over imperial decisions. When you try to leave your kingdom to your male partner, the court draws hard lines about acceptable favoritism. One emperor attempted to make his beloved his heir, which crossed from tolerated relationship to unacceptable political power transfer. The court's response was swift and brutal. The male lover and his wife were forced to commit suicide immediately after the emperor's death, showing that there are limits to how far imperial love can extend into imperial policy. The succession crisis reveals the boundaries of imperial power when it conflicts with institutional expectations. You can shower your male lovers with wealth and titles, but you can't actually protect them from the system's fundamental priorities. When your personal desires conflict with political stability, the system will sacrifice your happiness without hesitation. Your male favorites face different forms of systematic persecution depending on political circumstances. Some are stripped of property and starved to death, going from imperial favorite to dying penniless. Others are executed for alleged crimes despite imperial protection that proves meaningless when officials decide someone is inconvenient. Still others are poisoned by officials who see them as threats. The methods vary, but the outcome is consistent. Loving an emperor is essentially a death sentence with a delayed execution date. Your eunuch companions become primary emotional relationships because they're the only males allowed overnight access to palace spaces. Child eunuchs grow up as your playmates and develop intimate emotional bonds that continue into adulthood. Since they're the only men who can access your private chambers without triggering security protocols, they become your closest relationships by default and necessity. The eunuch relationships are emotionally complex because they combine genuine intimacy with surveillance functions. These men know you better than anyone else and provide emotional support, but they're also monitoring your behavior and reporting to palace administrators. It's like having boyfriends who are also your probation officers, creating relationships that are simultaneously caring and controlling. Love and espionage become indistinguishable in your daily life. Even your most trusted relationships carry surveillance and control elements that make genuine intimacy nearly impossible. Your male lovers might genuinely care about you, but they're also aware that their survival depends on maintaining your favor and navigating palace politics. Every conversation, every gesture, every moment of affection is influenced by the awareness that emotional relationships are also political relationships in your world. The surveillance creates paranoia that corrupts even authentic feelings. You can never be completely sure whether someone loves you for yourself or for the protection and benefits that come with imperial favor. Your partners live in constant awareness that falling out of favor could mean execution, which makes it impossible to separate genuine emotion from survival strategy. Every romantic gesture becomes suspect because it might be calculated to maintain access to imperial privileges rather than expressing authentic affection. The most powerful person in the world can't protect the people he actually loves from the system he's supposed to control. Your unlimited authority over the empire doesn't extend to protecting your male partners from political consequences. The protection paradox reveals the fundamental weakness in imperial power. It depends on institutional support that can be withdrawn when your personal choices conflict with political expectations. Your authority is only as strong as the system that grants it, and that system prioritizes stability over your emotional needs. You rule everything except the things that actually matter to you. So there you are, the most powerful person in the world, unable to protect the people you love from the consequences of loving you. Your male relationships are tolerated but not safe, acknowledged but not celebrated, and threatened by the very system that gives your affection political meaning. You can have male lovers, but you can't save them from the political machinery that sees your emotional connections as threats to be managed, controlled, or eliminated. Think having heterosexual relationships as emperor would be easier. Think again. Your normal romantic life becomes an international incident where every flutter of your heart triggers diplomatic crises and succession wars. Your marriages are international treaty negotiations disguised as romance. When you're looking for a wife, you're not browsing dating profiles. You're reviewing alliance proposals where the bride comes with military support, trade agreements, and political obligations. Your wedding vows include clauses about mutual defense pacts. Nothing says, "till death do us part," like signing a treaty that commits two nations to shared foreign policy. The marriage negotiations involve dowries that could fund small wars, guest lists that determine international relations, and wedding ceremonies that double as diplomatic summits. Your romantic preferences become matters of state security. Want to marry for love? Too bad. You're marrying to prevent your Western neighbors from forming an alliance with your Southern enemies. Your heart becomes a bargaining chip in negotiations you probably don't even understand. You fall in love with your son's wife and have to destroy his marriage to steal her. This actually happened, and it's exactly as awkward as it sounds. You see your daughter-in-law emerge from hot springs looking radiant, decide you want her for yourself, and suddenly you're nullifying your son's marriage so you can marry his wife. Family dinners become significantly more uncomfortable when you've stolen your child's spouse. The son-stealing process involves making your daughter-in-law become a Taoist nun for several years, while secretly visiting your bedchamber at night. It's like the world's most elaborate excuse for an affair. Oh, she's not married to my son anymore. She's dedicated to spiritual enlightenment. Also, she spends every night in my bedroom, but that's totally unrelated to her religious journey. When she finally becomes your official consort, your son gets a new wife, but family reunions remain awkward for obvious reasons. You're forced to execute your beloved when political crises require scapegoats. You can shower your favorite with attention, send imperial courier systems to fetch her favorite fruit from across the empire, and commission portraits to stare at when she's not around. But when military rebellions threaten your dynasty, your advisors will demand her execution as the price of political stability. The execution demand puts you in an impossible position. Your troops are literally surrounding the palace, refusing to continue fighting until you prove your commitment to the empire by killing the woman you love. You can choose between your girlfriend and your kingdom, but you can't have both. It's like being forced to choose between your relationship and your career, except the stakes are national survival, and the breakup involves public strangulation. After the execution, you spend your remaining years staring at commissioned portraits of her, because nothing says healthy grieving process like obsessing over paintings of your dead girlfriend. Your romantic partner's families gain dangerous political power through your emotional attachments. When you're in love, you naturally want to help your partner's relatives. A cousin becomes prime minister, a brother gets military command, a father receives important administrative positions. Your heart becomes a pathway to political influence that threatens the balance of power your government depends on. The family advancement creates resentment among officials who worked their entire careers for positions that your girlfriend's nephew gets as a wedding gift. Your love life becomes a corruption scandal where romantic favoritism undermines merit-based governance. You're essentially running a government where dating someone gives their entire extended family access to high-ranking positions. It's like nepotism, but with more pillow talk and fewer qualifications. Concubines poison each other's children to advance their sons in succession politics. Your romantic life becomes a gladiatorial arena where women compete by murdering their rivals' offspring. Motherhood becomes a blood sport where giving birth to a potential heir makes you a target for assassination plots. Your nursery needs more security than your treasury because other concubines see your children as obstacles to their own family's advancement. The child poisoning creates a horrifying environment where your partners view your offspring as enemy combatants. Every pregnancy becomes a potential threat to existing children, every birth triggers murder plots, and every toddler represents a succession crisis waiting to happen. You're trying to maintain a loving family while your wives are systematically eliminating each other's babies. Love becomes dangerous when it affects succession decisions that determine dynasty survival. If you show too much affection to one concubine's son, you're essentially painting a target on his back for every other woman in your harem. Your parental love becomes a death sentence for your own children because it signals which heir might threaten other families' political ambitions. The succession danger means you have to hide your actual feelings about your own children to protect them from murder plots. You can't publicly favor your smartest son or show pride in your most talented daughter because emotional attachment makes them assassination targets. Being a loving father becomes a form of child endangerment. You send imperial courier systems meant for state documents to fetch fruit for your girlfriend. The same communication network designed to coordinate military campaigns and administrative policy gets used to deliver fresh lychees because your beloved has a craving. Your personal romance commandeers government infrastructure, turning state resources into a very expensive food delivery service. The fruit delivery reveals how your romantic obsessions distort imperial priorities. While important state communications are delayed, your girlfriend is enjoying fresh produce from provinces thousands of miles away. Your love life becomes more important than governance, which creates the political instability that eventually destroys your relationship anyway. It's a feedback loop where romantic excess creates the problems that eliminate romance. Your emotional connections are monitored for political implications by suspicious officials. Palace administrators analyze your romantic behavior for signs of favoritism, weakness, or foreign influence. They track how much time you spend with different partners, which gifts you give to whom, and whether your affections might compromise imperial decision-making. Your dating life gets the full intelligence analysis treatment. The monitoring creates paranoia about expressing genuine emotion. Every romantic gesture is evaluated for political meaning. Every display of affection is scrutinized for signs of inappropriate influence. You can't have a normal relationship because normal relationship behavior is seen as potential evidence of political manipulation or foreign espionage. Even your pillow talk gets analyzed by intelligence committees. The only monogamous emperor in history was praised for rejecting love to avoid corruption. One emperor stayed faithful to a single wife specifically because he'd watched his father become so obsessed with a favorite concubine that she effectively controlled the government. His solution was to eliminate romantic passion entirely as a form of political damage control. The monogamous emperor's approach created cleaner government, but worried officials about heir production. Having only one wife meant fewer potential successors, which created different political risks. After his death, his only son proved to be an incompetent ruler who accelerated the empire's decline. His romantic restraint may have prevented corruption, but it also failed to produce adequate leadership for the next generation. Women manipulate you through sex and emotions while forming complex political alliances against each other. Your harem becomes a sophisticated network of competing factions, where romantic partners use intimacy as a weapon to gain influence over imperial decisions. Every sexual encounter carries political implications. Every emotional connection becomes a strategic advantage in palace power struggles. The manipulation extends to fake pregnancies, staged romantic scenes, and carefully calculated displays of affection designed to trigger your protective instincts. You're not just dating, you're being psychologically managed by people who have studied your emotional weaknesses and use them to advance their political agendas. Your romantic life becomes a chess game where you're always the pawn. Your children's survival depends on their mother's political positions rather than your paternal love. A child born to a powerful concubine has protection from her family's influence, while a child born to a politically weak partner becomes vulnerable to elimination plots. Your love for your children becomes irrelevant compared to their mother's ability to navigate palace politics. The maternal protection system creates an environment where your children's safety depends on factors completely outside your control. You can love all your children equally, but their survival depends on their mother's political skills, family connections, and ability to form protective alliances. Being emperor doesn't make you an effective father, because fatherhood becomes a political position rather than an emotional relationship. So there you are, trying to maintain authentic romantic relationships in a system designed to turn love into a weapon. Your marriages are diplomatic negotiations. Your emotional attachments create political vulnerabilities, and your attempts at normal family life trigger murder plots among the people you're supposed to trust most. Even straight love becomes a political liability in a world where every romantic gesture has international implications, and every family dinner might end in assassination attempts. You wake up one morning to discover your family tree has been pruned by fratricide. Your brothers have decided that sharing the empire isn't really their thing, so they've turned family gatherings into elimination tournaments. Think of it as a reality show where getting voted off the island means getting literally voted off the planet. Your siblings eye each other across the dinner table like contestants in a death match, calculating who needs to disappear before the succession announcement. The family motto has shifted from honor thy father to eliminate thy competition. Your brothers smile at each other during formal ceremonies while secretly planning creative ways to reduce the guest list at future family reunions. Your death becomes a creative writing exercise for your ambitious offspring. Your youngest son, apparently tired of waiting for natural inheritance laws to work in his favor, decides to edit your final wishes with all the subtlety of a Netflix drama plot twist. He produces a suspiciously convenient edict declaring that your eldest son should join you in death for the good of the realm. Your rightful heir reads this forged document and thinks, well, if Dad wants me dead, I guess that's what good sons do. The youngest then sits back with a cup of tea, watching his brother commit suicide based on homework he just made up. It's the ultimate sibling rivalry resolution: forge Dad's signature and eliminate the competition. Your family has discovered that there's a whole menu of execution styles available, and they're treating it like a buffet of brotherly elimination. They're not just killing each other, they're using the fancy government execution methods typically reserved for enemies of the state. Your siblings have turned fratricide into performance art, complete with official protocols and ceremonial dismemberment techniques. It's like they've professionalized family murder, turning it into a government-sanctioned activity with proper paperwork. They're not just stabbing each other in back alleys like common criminals. They're using the Imperial Execution Handbook as their instruction manual. Family dinner conversations have shifted from pass the rice to pass the execution guidelines. Your brother has done the math on his survival options and decided that being buried alive with your dead body is actually the more appealing choice. He's looked at his remaining siblings, calculated his odds of surviving their creative murder plans, and concluded that suffocating in a tomb is the preferable option. This is the family equivalent of choosing the electric chair over facing a firing squad of your own relatives. Your brother actually writes a letter requesting to be buried with you, complete with money for burial expenses, because he's treating voluntary live burial like a luxury vacation package compared to what his brothers have planned. He's basically saying, I'd rather be dead dad's roommate than deal with these psychopaths. Your family gatherings now require tactical planning and archery equipment. You've turned palace gates into hunting grounds where your brothers become the prey, complete with coordinated ambush positions and arrow distribution among your loyal supporters. Family visits have transformed into military operations, where you're literally shooting your siblings like they're enemy combatants approaching your fortress. Your brothers ride up expecting a normal family meeting and instead get a medieval drive-by shooting courtesy of their loving sibling. Your deathbed plea becomes the family's most ignored speech in history. You spend your final moments begging your surviving relatives to please, for the love of all that's holy, not murder your innocent children once you're gone. Your dying words are essentially, please don't kill my kids, delivered with all the desperation of someone who knows exactly what his family is capable of. Your relatives nod solemnly, promise to protect your offspring, and then immediately start planning their elimination the moment you stop breathing. Being named Crown Prince is basically receiving a death sentence with better jewelry. The statistics are clear. If you're the designated heir, you have a 75% chance of being murdered by your own family during the succession process. Your title isn't Crown Prince, it's target number 1 with a fancy hat. The moment you're officially announced as the heir, you've essentially volunteered for the most dangerous job in the empire, where your own relatives become your primary security threat. Your family's murder spree has reached the point where children's homework assignments are considered grounds for execution. Court astrologers examine your nephew's calligraphy practice and declare that his handwriting shows dangerous political ambitions that must be eliminated immediately. A 6-year-old's attempt to write the word edict becomes evidence of future rebellion, because apparently penmanship is now a capital offense. Your nephew gets murdered not for plotting against the throne, but for having neat handwriting that makes adults nervous. Your sons have apparently inherited your talent for learning absolutely nothing from obvious life lessons. They watch you die a horrible death from poisoned immortality elixirs, witness your suffering firsthand, attend your funeral, and then immediately think, you know what? I bet those same elixirs would work great for me. Your death becomes a teaching moment that teaches absolutely nothing. Your sons execute the alchemist who killed you, then hire a new alchemist to make them the exact same poison. Your official succession announcement is basically a public execution notice with a delayed start time. The moment your name is called as the heir apparent, you've entered the final phase of your life expectancy countdown. Court historians have calculated that accepting the crown prince position is statistically equivalent to volunteering for assisted suicide with a royal ceremony. Your appointment as heir is less about future leadership and more about which family member gets to kill you first. Your personal security detail spends more time watching your relatives than protecting you from external enemies. You need bodyguards specifically assigned to monitor your own family members, because blood relation has become the most reliable predictor of assassination attempts. Your security briefings focus less on foreign invasion and more on which cousin has been acting suspicious lately. Your family gatherings require the same security protocols as enemy diplomatic meetings, complete with weapons checks and loyalty screenings. Your family reunions now require the same planning as military operations, complete with strategic seating arrangements and poison detection protocols. Birthday parties become potential assassination attempts with better decorations and traditional music. Your relatives smile and exchange pleasantries while secretly calculating optimal murder timing and weapon accessibility. Family celebrations have transformed into elaborate murder mysteries where you're both the detective and the intended victim. So there you are, surrounded by people who share your blood and your desire to spill it. Your family has become your most dangerous enemy, turning every reunion into a survival exercise and every succession into a murder spree. The empire has successfully created the perfect imperial family. One where love is weakness, loyalty is stupidity, and the safest place to be is in your grave. Your family isn't the only one who wants you dead. What a shock. While your relatives are busy plotting your demise at family gatherings, the rest of your empire has decided to join the party. Your assassination threats have expanded beyond blood relations to include literally everyone with access to your daily routine. You need multiple food tasters for every meal because your kitchen staff might be paid assassins. Your dinner routine now resembles a bizarre culinary experiment where other people eat your food first to make sure it won't kill you. You watch nervous servants sample your soup, your rice, your tea, and even your dessert while you wait to see if anyone starts convulsing. It's like having a human poison detection system, except these people have families and feelings, and probably don't appreciate being your canaries in the coal mine. Your meals have become group activities where everyone eats before you do, and you're basically waiting for the all-clear signal before you can enjoy your potentially lethal lunch. The kitchen has become a laboratory where every ingredient is suspect, and every dish requires human testing before it reaches your mouth. Your bedroom has locked doors and rotating guards who might be working for your enemies. You sleep in what's essentially a prison cell designed to keep assassins out, but you can't shake the feeling that your guards might be the ones planning to kill you. Your bedroom security is so elaborate that you need clearance to use your own bathroom, but the people controlling that clearance could be the ones plotting your demise. You lie in bed at night listening to your guards moving around outside, wondering if they're protecting you or waiting for the optimal moment to strike. Your sleeping quarters have become a fortress where you're simultaneously the prisoner and the person being protected. You change your schedule randomly to avoid predictable patterns that enable murder plots. Your daily routine has become a complex game of misdirection where you deliberately confuse yourself to confuse potential assassins. You eat breakfast at different times, take different routes through the palace, and even change which bathroom you use, all to avoid giving killers a reliable timetable. Your life has become so unpredictable that you sometimes forget where you're supposed to be, but at least your assassins are equally confused. You're basically living like a paranoid spy in your own home, except instead of enemy agents, you're hiding from your own staff. Your court officials never know when you'll appear for meetings, creating a government that runs on uncertainty and last-minute scheduling changes. Your own servants' names are recorded for accountability when you inevitably get poisoned. Every person who touches your food, clothing, or personal items has their name written down in official logs, creating a paper trail for your eventual murder investigation. Your servants know that if you die mysteriously, they'll be the prime suspects, which creates a workplace atmosphere where everyone is both nervous and potentially murderous. You're surrounded by people who are professionally required to care for you, but who also know they'll be blamed if you die. It's like having a staff of potential suspects who are all aware they're being monitored for signs of lethal intent, creating a feedback loop of mutual suspicion. Palace women coordinate assassination attempts using hemp ropes during your sleep. Even your female servants have formed murder conspiracies, proving that literally everyone in your household has considered killing you. A group of palace women actually attempted to strangle you with hemp rope while you were sleeping, which means your bedroom isn't the safe haven you thought it was. You discover that your female staff, who you probably assumed were harmless, have been meeting secretly to plan your assassination. Your palace has become a breeding ground for murder plots, and gender provides no safety filter for potential killers. These women work together like a perfectly coordinated assassination team, proving that your death has become a group project that crosses all social boundaries. You're attacked by assassins hiding daggers in maps during official state presentations. Even your work meetings have become potential death traps where office supplies might be murder weapons. You're trying to conduct government business when someone approaches with what appears to be a helpful map, only to discover it's actually a concealed weapon delivery system. Your official presentations have become elaborate ambush opportunities where educational materials double as assassination tools. You can't even look at geographical information without wondering if the person showing it to you is trying to kill you. State meetings now require security sweeps of all documents, turning simple policy discussions into potential crime scenes where every scroll could hide a blade. Your aunt's servants poison your yogurt because family members hire your caretakers as killers. Your own relatives are recruiting your personal staff to murder you, which means your food poisoning comes with a family connection. The people your family members recommend for palace positions aren't there to help you. They're there to kill you on behalf of your loving relatives. Your aunt specifically plants a servant whose job is to bring you poisoned dairy products, because apparently family loyalty extends to creative assassination methods. You can't even enjoy a simple snack without wondering if it's a murder weapon disguised as a healthy treat. Your extended family has turned hiring household staff into a recruitment process for contract killers, making every new servant a potential family-sponsored assassin. You sleep in different rooms each night because consistency makes you an easier target. Your sleeping arrangements have become a nightly game of musical beds where you never know which room you'll wake up in. You rotate between different bedrooms, different beds, and different security arrangements, all to avoid giving assassins a reliable location for your murder. Your sleep schedule has become so chaotic that you sometimes forget which room you're in when you wake up, but at least potential killers are equally confused about where to find you. You're basically homeless in your own palace, moving from room to room like a refugee fleeing invisible enemies. Your servants have to search for you each morning, because even they don't know where you decided to sleep, creating a daily game of hide and seek where the stakes are life and death. Your guards might be double agents reporting your movements to people planning your death. The people assigned to protect you could be the ones providing intelligence to your enemies, which means your security system might actually be functioning as an assassination coordination network. You observe your guards observing you and wonder if they're noting your habits for protective purposes or for murder planning purposes. Your security detail has become a potential spy network where the people closest to you might be the ones selling information about your vulnerabilities to the highest bidder. You live like a mafia boss who knows everyone wants him dead, but can't trust anyone for protection. Your imperial lifestyle has become indistinguishable from organized crime paranoia, where every relationship is potentially dangerous and every interaction could be your last. You're constantly looking over your shoulder, testing your food, and questioning everyone's motives, because you know that being emperor has made you the most valuable target in the empire. Your palace has become a war zone where you're fighting an invisible enemy that could be anyone, anywhere, at any time. Your paranoia is completely justified because most emperors die from assassination rather than natural causes. The statistics support your fears, proving that your constant anxiety about murder is actually rational behavior based on historical precedent. You're not being paranoid. You're being realistic about the fact that emperors don't typically die peacefully in their beds, surrounded by loving family members. Your suspicion of everyone around you is justified by the fact that previous emperors who trusted people ended up dead, while the paranoid ones lived slightly longer. So there you are, trapped in your own palace, suspicious of everyone, sleeping in different rooms each night, and eating food that other people have to test for poison first. Your life has become a constant state of justified paranoia, where everyone is a potential killer, and every moment could be your last. The empire has successfully created the perfect emperor, someone who trusts no one, fears everyone, and lives each day knowing that paranoia isn't a mental illness. It's a survival strategy. Your assassination paranoia has driven you to seek the ultimate solution, living forever. Because if you can't die, then all those people plotting your murder become irrelevant, right? Wrong. Your desperate search for immortality has led you into the most ironic death trap in imperial history, where the cure for mortality becomes the express lane to the afterlife. You've decided that the best defense against assassination is to make assassination impossible by removing death from the equation entirely. You desperately seek immortality because constant assassination threats make natural death seem impossible. After spending your entire reign dodging poisoned food, murderous family members, and palace conspiracies, you've decided that the only way to win this game is to stop playing by mortality's rules. You're so tired of worrying about when you'll die that you've decided to remove death from the equation entirely. Your logic is beautifully simple. If you can live forever, then you don't have to fear assassination, succession wars, or any of the other deadly imperial traditions. Unfortunately, your solution is about to become your biggest problem. You trust expert alchemists who give you medicine that kills you faster than aging wood. You've hired the ancient world's equivalent of snake oil salesmen, except these guys are selling you actual snake poison disguised as life extension therapy. These alchemists arrive at your court with impressive credentials, elaborate theories about metal transformation, and a track record of killing every previous emperor who hired them. But you're convinced that your alchemist is different, that he's finally cracked the immortality code that has eluded humanity for millennia. You're basically trusting your life to people whose previous clients all died horrible deaths from their treatments. These men present themselves as learned scholars, while essentially running a centuries-long serial killing operation disguised as medical practice. You consume mercury, arsenic, and lead mixtures believing toxic metals grant eternal life. Your daily health routine now includes ingesting substances that would make a modern hazmat team evacuate the building. You're drinking liquid mercury mixed with wine chewing on arsenic pellets, and treating lead poisoning like a vitamin supplement. The alchemists have convinced you that these metals are the key to immortality because they don't rust or decay. So obviously they'll have the same effect on your body. It's like deciding that since plastic doesn't biodegrade, eating plastic bags will make you immortal. Your breakfast has become a toxic waste disposal event, and you're paying premium prices for the privilege of poisoning yourself with imperial-grade heavy metals. Your mercury poisoning causes paranoid behavior that makes you execute palace staff for trivial reasons. The very medicine you're taking to preserve your life is destroying your mental capacity and turning you into a homicidal maniac. You're becoming increasingly irrational, suspicious, and violent. But you attribute these personality changes to the stress of being emperor rather than the literal brain damage you're inflicting on yourself. Your court has become a workplace where spilling tea or arriving late could result in execution because your poisoned mind sees conspiracy everywhere. You've become the very kind of paranoid, murderous emperor that people want to assassinate, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy powered by heavy metal poisoning. You watch your father die from immortality elixirs, then immediately hire new alchemists for yourself. You have front row seats to watch your predecessor convulse, foam at the mouth, and die in agony from the same treatments you're about to start taking. You attend his funeral, mourn his passing, execute his alchemist for malpractice, and then immediately place help-wanted ads for new immortality experts. It's like watching someone die from jumping off a cliff and then deciding that the problem wasn't the cliff, it was that they didn't jump correctly. Your father's death becomes a cautionary tale that you completely ignore in favor of optimistic thinking about your own invincibility. You witness the direct cause and effect relationship between immortality medicine and death, then decide that correlation doesn't imply causation. Your cognitive function decreases from metal poisoning while you still believe the medicine is working. You're literally becoming stupider every day while congratulating yourself on your brilliant health choices. Your memory is failing, your decision-making is impaired, and your judgment is compromised. But you interpret these symptoms as signs that the medicine is purifying your system. You're experiencing textbook heavy metal poisoning while telling yourself that you're achieving transcendence. Your courtiers watch you deteriorate mentally and physically, while you praise your alchemist for the excellent progress you're making toward immortality. You demand impossible ingredients like 5 kilograms of tortoise fur and rabbit antler for perfect elixirs. Your quest for immortality has descended into magical thinking, where you're requesting ingredients that don't exist from animals that don't have them. You're sending imperial search parties across the empire looking for turtle hair and bunny horns, because your alchemist has convinced you that these imaginary substances are the missing components in your life extension formula. Your government resources are being wasted on impossible shopping lists, while you slowly poison yourself with the ingredients you can actually obtain. Officials are dispatched to remote provinces with orders to find mythical animal parts, creating a bureaucratic nightmare where failure to locate non-existent materials becomes a career-ending problem. Each emperor believes his alchemist has perfected the formula that killed all previous emperors. You've studied the history. You know that every emperor who tried immortality medicine died from it, but you're convinced that your guy is the one who finally got it right. You know, 17th time's the charm. You're like a gambler who's watched everyone else lose their money at the casino, but believes he's discovered the secret to beating the house. Your alchemist presents you with essentially the same toxic formula that killed your predecessors, but with minor variations that he claims make all the difference. You're participating in a multi-generational clinical trial where every participant dies, but each new volunteer thinks they're the exception. Your fear of natural death drives you to embrace artificial death through systematic self-poisoning. You're so terrified of being murdered that you've decided to murder yourself slowly and call it medicine. Your solution to assassination paranoia is to become your own assassin, taking daily doses of poison while telling yourself it's healthcare. You've turned suicide into a long-term project disguised as a wellness routine. Your fear of dying has become so overwhelming that you've chosen to die differently, as if the method of death matters more than the outcome. You execute failed alchemists, then immediately hire their replacements to continue the deadly experiments. Your quality control system for immortality medicine involves killing the practitioners who fail to deliver, then hiring new ones to attempt the same impossible task. You're running a revolving door employment program where job failure is punishable by death, but somehow you always find new applicants. Each new alchemist arrives convinced that he can succeed where others failed, and you're equally convinced that this time will be different. You've created a feedback loop where failure leads to execution, which leads to new hiring, which leads to more failure. Your weakness and kidney problems from poisoning are interpreted as signs the medicine is purifying you. You're experiencing organ failure while telling yourself that it's spiritual cleansing. Your body is shutting down from toxic overload, but your alchemist has convinced you that physical deterioration proves the treatment is eliminating impurities from your system. You're like someone who's been told that feeling worse means you're getting better, except your medicine is literally killing you. Your declining health becomes proof of progress in your twisted medical worldview. You die at 39 from mercury poisoning while searching for treatments to live forever. Your quest for immortality has shortened your life by decades, proving that your cure was worse than any disease. You could have lived a normal lifespan and died of old age, but instead you've poisoned yourself to death in your 30s while pursuing eternal youth. Your death certificate should read, cause of death. Irony, because you've literally died from trying too hard not to die. Your immortality project has become a suicide mission with extra steps. Your sons watch you die from elixirs, execute your alchemist, then repeat the exact same fatal process. Your death becomes a teaching moment for your children about the dangers of immortality medicine, and they completely ignore the lesson. They witness your suffering, attend your funeral, punish the person responsible, and then immediately sign up for the same treatment. Your family has turned learning from mistakes into an inherited inability to learn from mistakes. Each generation watches the previous one die from the same cause and decides that the problem was execution, not concept. 2,000 years of emperors die from immortality medicine, but each one thinks he'll be different. You're participating in the world's longest-running failed experiment, where the results are always the same, but the participants never learn. You have access to 2 millennia of data proving that immortality elixirs are fatal, but you're convinced that you're the special case who will finally achieve success. Your confidence is based on hope rather than evidence, and your hope is based on desperation rather than logic. You're the latest casualty in humanity's most persistent delusion about conquering death. Your desperation to avoid assassination leads you to poison yourself more effectively than any enemy could. You've become so focused on preventing other people from killing you that you've taken the job away from them entirely. Your enemies don't need to plot your assassination because you're handling it yourself with daily doses of mercury and arsenic. You've outsourced your own murder to yourself, creating a suicide program disguised as healthcare. Your greatest fear has become your chosen method of death, proving that sometimes the thing you're running from is exactly where you end up. So there you are, the most powerful person in the world, dying from your own medicine while searching for eternal life. Your quest for immortality has become a form of elaborate suicide, and your fear of death has become the very thing that kills you. The empire has successfully created the perfect emperor. Someone so afraid of dying that he poisons himself to death while calling it healthcare. For over 2,000 years, Chinese emperors traded their humanity for power, their happiness for authority, and their lives for a throne that was actually a beautifully decorated prison. They achieved ultimate control over everyone except themselves, gained unlimited wealth while losing everything that made life meaningful, and sought immortality through the very poisons that guaranteed their early death. The imperial system created gods who lived like prisoners, rulers who died like victims, and men who sacrificed their souls to wear crowns that became their chains. Thank you for joining me on this gentle journey through the stranger corners of history. Until we meet again in another time and place, may you never sacrifice your humanity for the illusion of control, and may you find meaning in life's simple pleasures rather than its grand promises.